وينشر الهدي إيمانا وموعظة فبالجهالة قد خابت مساعينا غابت مناقبنا واسود حاضرنا غابت مناقبنا واسود حاضرنا وأوشك اليأس أن يغشى.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. Welcome to another edition of the Sulaimaan Ravat show. Yes, it's that time of the week again. It's a Friday evening. It's still hot. This morning, I heard, this morning, at the time of Fajr, there was a bit of a chill. And I thought that, okay, maybe, just maybe, today we'll get some rain, or it'll be a cooler day. And for most of the morning it was, but then again towards the afternoon, you were reminded that we're going through this heat wave. Nonetheless, there's so much to be grateful for, isn't there? We always tend to see that which is not to our liking. It's like when you have a white shirt on. You have a white shirt on, nobody sees the whiteness. They see the black spot on the white shirt. They don't see the whiteness, they see the black spot on the white shirt. That in many ways is just how human life is. That's human nature, I suppose. Nonetheless, let's just take a moment, as we get going this evening on the program, to think about everything that's going right in our lives, all the positives in our lives, all the things that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has granted us that we have not realized, all the things that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has granted us that we have forgotten about, all the things that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has granted us that we have failed to acknowledge, all the things that are going right. This afternoon I spoke about how we need to enjoy the present. We need to enjoy the present. Sometimes we worry too much about what happened in the past and we are over concerned as to what could possibly happen in the future, but we lose focus on enjoying what's in the present. There's so much that's worthy of being grateful for, but we don't realize it because we're too worried either about the past or the future. It's natural human tendency that what happened in the past does bother you from time to time, but you need to learn from the past and not to live in the past. And yes, we plan from the future and we do worry about the future, but you can't wake up every day worrying about whether the rand is going to hit 20 rands to a dollar. It's 16 now or whatever it is, and live in the present and just deal with what you have to deal right now. You plan to an extent. Islam tells you invest, you save, you don't live only as if you're going to live for today. You do plan a little bit ahead. But you have to understand and appreciate the present. Your greater focus is to be on the present, not in the past, definitely not in the future. It's been an exciting week in South Africa once again in terms of the political landscape. Right, that man, Julius Malema, like him or not, you can't ignore him. Like him or not, you cannot ignore him. That's something that we have to understand and something we have to accept. Zuma makes the offer. It catches many people by surprise. He says, okay, let's just close this chapter. I still do not agree with a lot of what is there in the Public Protector's report, but I'm willing to pay back. How much? Well, the Auditor General and the Minister of Finance must decide. They must decide how much I must pay back. And as far as the court case is concerned, many said, well, Zuma was now hoping that it won't go to a full constitutional court hearing where there's a possibility that judgment would be made against him and that he would be embarrassed, and then try and close this matter ahead of the State of the Nation address, which is due to take place next week, Thursday. It didn't happen that way. The DA rejected it, saying no, they're going to court. They want the court to pronounce on the powers of the Public Protector. They want the court to clear up things, notwithstanding this offer by the president, and they feel that he's doing it now because he's got no choice. Okay, that is also in a way kind of what was expected. But then you've got the EFF coming up and saying, the rhetoric, the statements. Malema's got this ability to be able to give you an abundance of quotes in just one press briefing. In just one press briefing, he can just on what he says. There's just so many things that become quotes and they make instant headlines. So he coins the phrase now, Zuptas, Gupta and Zuma. And then he talks about the Guptas must fall and the fact that he doesn't now want any reporters from ANN7 or New Age representing those media houses at EFF press briefings. And then he makes the controversial statements that practical action will be taken and that their lives cannot, their safety cannot be guaranteed. And he's been condemned for that, and rightfully so. many would say that he hasn't been condemned strongly enough in terms of the number of different condemnations. Yes, Sanaf has condemned him very strongly. I know the Daily Maverick has also condemned him in a very strong way. But a more widespread condemnation is perhaps what many were looking for from the media and also for opposition parties. That why aren't we seeing the DA take out a statement and COPE take out a statement and the IFP take out a statement and say, we don't agree with what Moulana is saying. You cannot outlaw journalists. You cannot target journalists in this way. But all the quotable quotes were there. You know, Moulana doesn't lead me. I lead him. He's a small boy. He came from church, state into politics. If Zuma doesn't start the State of the Nation address by explaining why he fired in Nene and cost the country billions, then we will share the stage with him, the way he puts it. We will share the stage with him. We will disrupt the State of the Nation address. We won't allow him to continue uninterrupted with the State of the Nation address. Ironically, Nene has now resigned as an MP, as a Member of Parliament, and he's also said that he hasn't officially been offered the job at the BRICS Bank, neither from Shanghai or not either from Pretoria. So, yeah, there's all this speculation about Zuma. Is he really under pressure? How much of pressure? Is he vulnerable? Is the EFF smelling blood? But they definitely, whether you like them or not, in many ways dictate the discourse, right? They totally overshadow the DA. You feel sorry for the DA in many ways because they can't do what the EFF does. It don't gel with their constituency. But when the EFF does what it does, because it has a very different constituency, then they overshadow the DA, and the DA is supposed to be the official opposition, the biggest opposition party. They ought to be having 4 times the membership and the following of the EFF. The local elections are around the corner. It's going to be crunch time, especially for the EFF to see whether they can build on the 5% that they got at the recent national elections. They definitely are making that red color, that red presence, and they're making their presence felt. They think very innovatively. I mean, okay, now the Guptas must fall. All the pressure on the Guptas and the relationship of Zuma and ministers with the Guptas and how influential they are and what role they play and that kind of thing. I have 1 or 2 concerns, though. The first is we've seen, the kind of rising anti-Indian sentiment in recent years in South Africa. The Mazibuye Forum in KZN and other such initiatives and individuals with that kind of tendency. Although this may not be the intention of Moulana and company, they would be the first to articulate and say, look, we're not anti-Indian, we're anti-Gupta. But let's understand that the Guptas are Indians, and many times as the sentiment against the Guptas rise, even though it may be justified, there's a kind of overflow which then results in the rise of anti-Indian sentiment, because there are those people who then broadly generalize it. You hear people talking about every president who had is Indian, from Mandela to Mbeki to Zuma. Prior to presidency, it was Sheikh, and now it's the Guptas, and the Indians then almost like profiled in a very negative way, and that is one concern. Well, I also have a question, and we were discussing it this morning as well, on radio, that do you really admire Moulana? Are there people out there who admire him? There are those who are willing to acknowledge his intelligence. There are those who would say that he's very smart. He knows what resonates with the people. He knows how to tap into frustrations of people. He knows how to what's popular, and he knows how to up the ante at the right times. But do you truly admire him? Because when you admire somebody, it's different. Moulana may provide entertainment. There may be those who enjoy the entertainment. There may be those who enjoy seeing him putting the ANC, which has been in power for so long, under pressure, making them sweat. There may be many enjoying seeing him putting Zuma in particular under pressure. But do you admire him? Would you vote for him? Why would you vote for him? Why do you admire him? I find it a very interesting question, and I would like to know. And later in the program, inshallah, we will open the lines and we will be taking interaction from you. Do you think he should disrupt the State of the Nation address? Do you admire him? Would you vote for him? Do you think he will make a good president of South Africa? Or do you think that he's childish, he's immature, he's got no substance, he's just a populist, he just knows how to grab headlines, how to be sensational and grab the attention of journalists? Those are some of the thoughts that, I'm putting on the table, and I would like to hear from you a little later in the program. So I'm giving you notice from now. Think about it, streamline your thoughts, and a little after 9, inshallah, we'll open the lines and we'll take some feedback from the viewers out there, because it's a key week going ahead into next week, the Constitutional Court hearing on Tuesday. then the State of the Nation address on Thursday. What are your thoughts? Do you think this is helping the South African political narrative? Or is it creating more chaos? Is it creating a greater sense of lack of confidence within people? Many people starting to use the word like circus when it comes to how MPs behave in Parliament and that kind of thing. So a little later in the program, inshallah, we will be unpacking some of those issues and taking your calls as well. I really look forward to hearing your perspective and getting your thoughts on this matter. It's the usual lineup. After the break, we'll commence with our dua for the week, and then the dua for this week is a very famous dua. And then the second slot is the hadith segment. We discuss a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which if we implement, will totally revolutionize our social lives. It will reform communities. In our tafsir slot today, we talk about the pen and the creation of the pen and the importance of the pen and the whole system which Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has created around writing in light of the verse الَّذِي عَلَّمَ بِالْقَلَمِ. Allah is that being who taught via the pen. And then in the Seerah discussion, we talk about Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam grazing goats and why every Nabi grazed goats and what's the benefit of it. And the Sunnah at the end, if we get time, inshallah, we talk about overeating. That's the lineup throughout the program. It is a live program. We are coming to you live this evening from Sunny Hill in Johannesburg. The email address, the Twitter handle, the Facebook details, all of that will appear on your screens. Please do communicate with us and let us know what's on your mind. That's the lineup for this evening. After the break, it's our dua for the week.
واسود حاضرنا وأوشك اليأس أن يغشى واسود حاضرنا وأوشك اليأس أن يغشى.
Welcome back. We do a quick recap of the dua that we discussed last week, narrated by Abu Humaid and recorded in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. It's also a famous dua, a dua that we recite upon entering the masjid. Allahumma aftah lana abwab rahmatik wa sahil lana abwab rizqik. That, oh Allah, open for us the doors to your mercy and give us easy access to the doors to your provisions. Now, whilst this dua is recommended at the time of entering to the masjid, it's also a dua that you can recite at other times. It's not to say that you should only recite it at the time when you are entering the masjid. Nonetheless, the masjid is a place of mercy. It's a place where the mercy of Allah descends in greater abundance. So we're saying when we enter the door, we're entering the door of the masjid and we're saying, oh Allah, open up all the doors of your mercy to us. And the doors of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala's mercies are great. And then, وَسَهِلْ لَنَا أَبْوَابَ رِزْقِكَ, and grant us easy access to the doors to your provisions. I explained last week that Allah provides. Allah provides for those who are obedient, for those who are disobedient, for those who are believers, for those who are non-believers. Allah provides for all. In differing ways, to differing extents, but Allah provides. But some people, their sustenance comes to them with a great degree of difficulty. They have to slog and they have to hassle and they really have to work hard and struggle before they get to what they need to survive. And other people, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala grants it to them in a much easier way. So naturally, who wants to strive and struggle beyond what is normal and what is ordinary and what is necessary to keep us focused and disciplined? So we're saying, oh Allah, our provisions will come, we know that. But let it not come to us in a very difficult way, in a very constrained way, in a very narrow way. Let it be that it's easy for us to be able to obtain sustenance. And some people you can see, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has really blessed them. A few phone calls here and there, one or two deals, and they sorted for the month. And their sustenance comes to them in a very easy way, and then the time that they have at their disposal, they can spend more time with their spouses, they can spend more time with their children, they can spend more time doing community work and doing religious work and that kind of thing. So that was the dua that we discussed last week. Allahumma aftah lana abwaba rahmatik wa sahil lana abwaba rizqik. Now today we discussed another famous dua. This is the dua which is normally recommended for recitation the time when you're exiting the masjid. That's why when you come to the masjid, like I mentioned last week, you'll see the dua to enter the masjid on the side of the door where you're entering, and then the dua to exit the masjid at the side, the inside part of the door as you are exiting. It's a much shorter dua. Allahumma inni as'aluka min fadlik. Oh Allah, I beg you for your favor. Oh Allah, I beg you for your favor. This is also narrated by Abu Humaid, and this is recorded in Sahih Muslim. When we say, oh Allah, we ask you for your favor, we are referring to the bounties of Allah, the grace of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. The bounties of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and the grace of Allah refer to our physical being, our spiritual being, our life in this world, our life in the year after. every facet of our existence, is in relation to the bounty of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Whatever we enjoy because of the grace and the bounty of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And whatever we are going to enjoy, we are going to enjoy through the bounty of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. But what we need to understand, what is pivotal, what is critical that we understand, that we need to constantly be asking Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala for His grace. Firstly, it's an acknowledgement that whatever we enjoy currently is from Allah. And secondly, we are saying, oh Allah, whatever I want and I need, I can only get it through your grace. So please, through your grace and your mercy and your pleasure, grant it to me, O Allah. And there's so much in the grace of Allah that we are not aware of. There's so much that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala can grant us that it's just, way beyond our imagination, way beyond what we can understand, way beyond what we can comprehend. So we need to make ourselves aware of that we are in need of the mercy and the grace of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, the favors, the bounties and the boons of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So our dua for this week from Sahih Muslim, Allahumma inni as'aluka min fadlik. Oh Allah, grant me from your grace, by your grace, grant me your bounties, your provisions, your boons and your favors. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen.
واسود حاضرنا وأوشك اليأس أن يغشى واسود حاضرنا وأوشك اليأس أن يغشى.
Welcome back. It's time now for us to move on to our hadith discussion. A quick recap of the ahadith that we discussed last week. The one hadith narrated by Asma bint Yazid radiyallahu anha, she mentioned that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had said, "Man dhabba fi irdi akhihi bil ghayba kana haqqan ala Allahi an yu'tiqahu min an-nar." Rawahu Ahmad. If anyone defends his brother's honor in his absence, then it is Allah's responsibility to set him free from the fire. Somebody is accused of something, and he didn't do that, it's not like that, he's not responsible, you are not there, or he's not there rather, it's a meeting, it's a private meeting, it's a management meeting, it's a board meeting, he's not present, you defend his honor. Or at a social discussion, somebody insinuates something, accuses, slanders, you come to his defense. He's not there. He might not get to know about it, so you won't get the brownie points, you won't get the acknowledgement from him, he won't be indebted to you. You're doing it solely for the pleasure of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. The integrity of a Muslim, the honor of a Muslim is so important. The integrity of a Muslim, the honor of a Muslim is so important that in the end of the day, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is willing, to grant you freedom from the fire of Jahannam when you go out and you protect the honor of a person. And then another hadith that we discussed last week, Abdullah bin Umar radiyallahu anhuma is the narrator. The narration is in Abu Dawud. That hadith mentions, "Man halat shafa'atuhu duna haddin min hududillah faqad dadda Allah." That person who becomes an obstacle, whose intercession becomes an obstacle to one of the punishments prescribed by Allah, then he has opposed Allah. When it comes to the penal code, where the penal code can be implemented, if you intercede, knowing the person is wrong, but you still intercede anyway, then you are opposing the system of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. وَمَنْ خَاصَمَ فِي بَاطِلٍ وَهُوَ يَعْلَمُهُ لَمْ يَزَلْ فِي سَخَطِ اللَّهِ حَتَّى يَنْزِعَ عَنْهُ. That if anyone disputes knowingly about something which is false, then he remains in the displeasure of Allah till he desists. If you're arguing and you know you're wrong, you know what you're saying is un-Islamic, you know what you're saying is not pleasing to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, yet for some motive or the other you continue arguing the point, then you remain in the displeasure of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala for as long as you remain arguing the point. And the last part of this hadith, وَمَنْ قَالَ فِي مُؤْمِنٍ مَا لَيْسَ فِيهِ أَسْكَنَهُ اللَّهُ رَدْغَةَ الْخَبَالِ حَتَّى يَخْرُجَ مِمَّا قَالَ. And if anyone makes an untruthful accusation against a Muslim, he will be made by Allah to dwell in the filthy fluid flowing from the inhabitants of hell till he retracts his statement. When you attach a false statement towards someone else, the punishment for that is the fluid, the dirty, filthy fluid, which will come from the people of hellfire due to their being punished in the hellfire. You will be made to dwell in that fluid. These days, if our baby toe touches a little bit of impurity, if our baby toe touches something which is maybe not even impure in the Sharia, but it's just against human nature, it's not something that we like, it makes us feel khal, as they say, the yuck factor. We feel, like imagine, Allah forbid, Allah save us, to be dwelling for such a lengthy period of time in the fire of Jahannam, in the filth that comes from the bodies of those who are being tortured in the fire of Jahannam. May Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala protect us. That is how severe it is to attach a false statement to somebody else, to make an untruthful accusation. So those are the ahadith that we discussed last week. The hadith that I want to discuss for this week, there are two. The first is a narration of Sahih Muslim. And Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تحاسدوا ولا تناجشوا ولا تباغضوا ولا تدابروا ولا يبيع بعضكم على بيع بعض وكونوا عباد الله إخوانا المسلم أخو المسلم لا يظلمه ولا يخذله ولا يحقره التقوى ها هنا ويشير إلى صدره 3 مرار بحسب امرئ من الشر أن يحقر أخاه المسلم كل المسلم على المسلم حرام دمه وماله وعرضه رواه مسلم. Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu narrates that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, do not be jealous of one another. Do not outbid to deceive one without intending to buy. Do not hate one another. Do not be indifferent to one another. Do not enter into a transaction when others have completed it. And O slaves of Allah, be like brothers amongst yourselves. A Muslim is a brother of a Muslim. He neither oppresses him, nor deserts him, nor looks down upon him. Piety is here. Then pointing towards his chest, he said it thrice. It is evil enough for a man to consider his Muslim brother worthless. All things of a Muslim are forbidden for you, for his brother in faith, his blood, his property, and his honor. This hadith is such that if we can practice on this hadith, really if we can practice on this hadith, it will cause a revolution in our social lives. It will cause a total transformation and reformation of the social fabric of society. Now, let's unpack this hadith one part at a time. Firstly, the Prophet ﷺ said, لا تحاسدوا, do not be jealous of each other. In another hadith, Rasulullah ﷺ said, إياكم والحسد, that be very careful of jealousy. فإن الحسد يأكل الحسنات كما تأكل النار الحطب. Because jealousy consumes good deeds like firewood, like fire consumes dry wood, or like fire would consume grass. This narration is in Abu Dawood. Jealousy, in short, is when you see somebody else enjoying a bounty of Allah and you want them to no longer enjoy that bounty. Whether you enjoy it or not is immaterial. Envy is, you see somebody's got something, you say, no, I'm happy that they got it, I also would like to have something similar. So you don't wish for them to lose what they have. But jealousy is when you feel, no, they shouldn't have it. So you in reality are objecting to the taqdeer of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, to the decree of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And now why does jealousy eat up good deeds? Because jealousy drives you to slander. It drives you to gossiping. It drives you to false accusations. It drives you to plotting and planning and scheming. It drives you to harming a person's profile and reputation, sometimes even physically harming a person. And in that way, you are destroying your good deeds. And on the day of Qiyamah, that person will claim from you your good deeds proportionate to what you have harmed them. And jealousy destroys you from within. It burns you up. It creates emotional instability. It takes away your peace of mind. It takes away your contentment. The more you see that person prosper and progress and flourish in his activities and endeavors, the more it eats you from within. And the more it drives you to do things which are totally against Islam. You'll be performing salah, but in your mind you're swearing that person and you're thinking bad of that person. And that can lead you to doing things which are unimaginable and transgress the rights of others. And then in that way, on the day of Qiyamah, you lose your good deeds. So the first thing the Prophet ﷺ said, لا تحاسدوا. Then he said, ولا تناجشوا. Do not outbid to deceive without intending to buy. Don't just go and put a higher price because you want to stop that man from paying. ولا تباغضوا. Do not hate one another. Hate the sin, not the sinner. Dislike the action, not the person. Hatred, no, that's destroying us. Hatred is something that prevents our good deeds from being accepted by Allah on a weekly basis when it's presented. It prevents us being forgiven by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. وَلَا تَدَابَرُوا. Do not be indifferent to one another. Do not be indifferent to one another. Don't just ignore the person. Just don't be nonchalant. Muslims ought to be united. وَلَا يَبِعْ بَعْضُكُمْ عَلَى بَيْءِ بَعْضٍ. If a man is already concluding a deal, don't go now and interfere. If you know that he's already resolved, and he's not just interested, he's already gone there and he's put his purchase, his offer to purchase, and that person is accepted. Now you go then, you tempt the seller with a higher price. That is not correct. وَكُونُوا عِبَادَ اللَّهِ إِخْوَانًا. Be brothers, O servants of Allah. And then the Prophet of Allah explains, what does it mean to be brothers? Al-Muslimu akhul Muslim. One Muslim is a brother unto the next. So what are your rights of brotherhood? لَا يَظْلِمُهُ. Don't oppress him. Don't do any wrong to him. But that doesn't stop there. وَلَا يَخْذُلُهُ. Do not leave him in the lurch. Do not desert him when he needs you. Yes, not oppressing him is one part. But you cannot say, well, I'm not doing anybody any wrong. That's only half of the equation. The other half of the equation, you need to help those who need your help. وَلَا يَحْكِرُهُ. Do not look down upon him. We all suffer from this malady. We look at other people as if they are inferior to us. We look at other people as if they are lesser than us. We think that because of our good deeds, or we think because of what Allah has blessed us with, that we are better than them. Even if we are doing more good, and even if they are involved in more haram, in the end we don't know from whom Allah can accept one good deed. And it may be that when our one sin is not forgiven, and that causes our destruction. And that person's one good deed is accepted, and that leads to his acceptance. Never look down upon anybody. And then at-taqwa hahuna, the Prophet ﷺ hit the chest and said, piety is here. Piety means the consciousness of Allah within your heart and soul. That consciousness of the year after and of reckoning. وَيُشِيرُ إِلَى صَدْرِهِ ثَلَاثَ مَرَّاتٍ. 3 times the Prophet ﷺ pointed to his chest, and he said that بِحِسْبِ امْرِئٍ مِّنَ الشَّرِّ أَن يَحْقِرَ أَخَاهُ الْمُسْلِمِ. It is sufficient to consider a person evil if he considers a brother of him to be worthless, if he looks down upon others. كُلُّ الْمُسْلِمِ عَلَى الْمُسْلِمِ حَرَامٌ دَمُهُ وَمَالُهُ وَعِرْضُهُ. Every Muslim, for another Muslim, these things are haram, meaning you cannot touch the following in your brother. His blood, meaning you can't take his life. His property, meaning you cannot steal, you cannot usurp. And his honor, this is what we have been talking of the last few days. Do not in any way taint or tarnish the honor of the next person. This is a very severe matter in the eyes of Allah. So once again, I reiterate the point that this one hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if we can bring it into our lives, we can implement, it will cause a revolution in the way we live. And that will then become the catalyst for the ummah to being united and for us achieving in the way that our forebears have achieved. May Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala grant us the understanding.
عن أبي عبد الله النعمان بن بشير رضي الله عنهما قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إن الحلال بين وإن الحرام بين وبينهما أمور مشتبهات لا يعلمهن كثير من الناس فمن اتقى الشبهات فقد استبرأ لدينه وعرضه ومن وقع في الشبهات وقع في الحرام كالراعي يرعى حول الحمى يوشك أن يرتع فيه ألا وإن لكل ملك حمى ألا وإن حمى الله محارمه ألا وإن في الجسد مضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب.
Welcome back. It's time now for us to move on to our tafsir discussion, and we are discussing Surah Al-Alaq, and previously we discussed verse number 3, and that is where Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says اقرأ وربك الأكرم. And I explained that in verse number 1 Allah also instructs that Iqra, read and recite. That is for the Prophet ﷺ himself personally to read and recite. The second Iqra is now proclaim and convey the message. وَرَبُّكَ الْأَكْرَمُ. And your sustainer is the most bountiful. And we explained that Allah has created the entire universe through His bounty, through His grace. Allah had no ulterior motive. Allah does not stand to benefit. Allah did not need anyone or anything in the universe for Him to have created the universe. But what Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is indicating here to the Prophet ﷺ, remember this is the first revelation. The Prophet ﷺ is scared, he's worried, he's shocked, he feels, I'm unlettered, how am I going to do this? So Allah is indicating, look, I am the Lord who has been so bountiful. If I looked after you from the time you were born, you lost your father, your mother, your grandfather, I took you all through those stages. How much haven't I granted you already? I granted you a woman of great standing and stature, of great wealth. I've granted you children. I've granted this universe so much. Such a bountiful Allah, there can be no obstacle from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala helping you. Go ahead and do what Allah is commanding you to do. Allah is there with you. Iqra wa rabbukal akram. Now, the next part of the verse, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, Alladhi allama bil qalam, who taught by the pen. Who's your Rabb? Your Rabb is the one who taught by the pen. Now the Prophet ﷺ, we know he was unlettered. He never learned how to read or write. Now Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is talking. In the previous verse, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala spoke about the creation of man. And now Allah is talking about the education of man. And scholars have written, this is something that is absolutely remarkable. The scholars have written, they say that education is so important. Literacy is so important that that is what distinguishes man as the masterpiece of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala's creation from the rest of creation. It distinguishes man from the rest of animals. And how does Allah educate? Primarily through two ways. The one is the spoken word, the oral command. So in the beginning of the surah, Allah said, Iqra, read and recite, indicating towards the spoken word and the oral command. And now by saying, Alladhi allama bil qalam, he who taught by the pen, Allah is indicating now towards the second method. And that is the pen or the written method. In as far as the pen is concerned, if you look at the books of tafsir, there's the authentic narration of Abu Hurairah radiallahu an, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, when Allah created the creation, He inscribed a document which is with Him above the throne. And what did He inscribe? That inna rahmati ghalabat ghadabi, that my mercy overwhelms and overpowers my anger. So it was inscribed, written. Then there's another hadith when it is mentioned that the first thing Allah created was the pen. He then told it to write, and the pen wrote in destiny up to the day of Qiyamah. All what will happen up to the day of Qiyamah. And this is with Allah on His throne. This is mentioned in Tafsir Qurtubi. And then the scholars of Tafsir have gone in greater detail. They say there's three types of a pen. The one is the pen that Allah created with His own hand, and He instructed it to write the decree of the universe. The second is the pen of the angels that record the deeds of men and events and the instructions of Allah relevant to that. And the third is the pen of humans. Humans have been created by Allah in a way that they are biologically programmed to talk. They are communicating all the time, and they need to reduce their speech to writing. Why do they need to reduce their speech to writing? So that it can be preserved, so that others can read and learn, so that it can be passed on from person to person, from generation to generation. And in this, there's great wisdom. This is a great bounty of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, that Allah has taught us how to write, and Allah has created the pen, and we are able to preserve things, matters of religious significance, worldly affairs. Imagine if you could not write, if you could not preserve things, it would be very difficult to maintain order. So Allah created the pen Himself. Actually, it is mentioned in one narration that there are four things. Mujahid narrates that there are four things which Allah created with His own creative hand. The rest, whatever Allah created, was by His command of kun, be, and it came into existence. What are the four things? The pen, the divine throne, the Garden of Eden, and the Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wassalam. And then the scholars have also written that here Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is emphasizing the importance of writing. Writing is very important. Yes, we know that you memorize, and the Quran, for example, can be memorized. But ista'in bi yaminik, take assistance from your right hand. Generally, people mostly write with their right hand. That when you hear something, write it down, capture it. When you write it, you absorb it better. You are able to remember it better, and then it's there. It's no longer something that was in your mind, and it can go at any time. It's there. You can always refer to it later. After you gone, others can refer to it. Others can benefit from it. So Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, in that short sentence, subhanallah, in that short sentence is saying, Alladhi allama bil qalam, He who taught by the pen. Okay, it's almost 7 or 8 minutes past 9. It's time for us to open the lines. For those who did not tune in at the beginning, I spoke about what happened this week. Julius Malema and his comments, where he spoke about the Zubtas, and he spoke about disrupting the State of the Nation address, and the need for the Guptas to be driven out of the country, and the threat that he issued to journalists from ANN7 and New Age, saying that practical action would be taken and their protection cannot be guaranteed if they came to EFF gatherings. My question to you this evening is, do you admire Julius Malema? Do you admire him? Would you vote for him? And if not, why not? If yes, why? Do you think that he's just an immature, childish person who's looking for headlines all the time, who's empty, who has no substance, who's a populist? Do you think he's intelligent but dangerous? Do you think he would be a good president of the country? Would you be happier for him to be a president than some of the other alternatives? That's the question we are asking this evening. The number is on your screen, 011 086 7777, 011 086 7777. You can start calling now. We hope to be taking your calls after the break.
واسود حاضرنا وأوشك اليأس أن يغشى واسود حاضرنا وأوشك اليأس أن يغشى.
Okay, welcome back. We are coming to you live this evening from our studios in Sunny Hill, Johannesburg. The lines are open, 011 086 7777. What do you think of Julius Malema's comments, fiery comments, controversial comments yesterday? Do you agree with him? Do you admire him? Do you think that he would make a good president? Or do you think that he's just a populist, that he doesn't have substance, that he shouldn't be taken seriously? What are your thoughts with regards to the man? You know, he's had such an impact in the last 2.5 or 3 years in the political landscape here in South Africa. Prior to that also, I mean, he was dominating headlines. Even when he was the youth league leader of the ANC, he really had, people jumping up and down. But that time they were much more negative to him when he was making those kill for Zuma comments and that kind of thing, kicking the journalists out of a press briefing. But these days, now that he's with the EFF, one gets the sense sometimes that the media are a little bit more tolerant of him as compared to previously. One gets the sense sometimes that there isn't enough condemnation of what he says. If someone from the ANC had to say exactly the same thing, or even the DA for that matter, they would be more widely condemned. Is it a case of that, them just feeling that, this is Malema and, we kind of expect this kind of behavior from him? While some quarters of the media have condemned what he said in as far as the ANN7 journalists are concerned and the New Age journalists are concerned, should there have been more widespread condemnation? What are your thoughts? Do you admire the man? Would you vote for him? Do you think that he'll make a good president, or do you think that he's dangerous for the country and that we need to be more careful? Let's go to our first caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Where are you calling from, my brother?
I'm calling from Mpumalanga, Amersfoort.
Yes. Can you just talk a little louder, please?
I'm calling from Amersfoort in Mpumalanga.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, tell us, what are your thoughts on Julius Malema?
Oh, I think the program you said, if I have got a question, I'm supposed to ask.
Yes, we're talking specifically about this. We were taking reaction to what Julius Malema had to say earlier this week.
Oh, I'm not of that program.
Okay.
But I want to ask a sheikh. He was making a bayan about the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created.
Okay, ask your question.
Oh. What was the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created before everything?
Okay, Jazakumullah. I'll give the answer shortly, but Jazakumullah for your call.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Yes, as I explained, that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala created the pen, and Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala instructed the pen to write the decree of everything that will happen from that point onwards. The lines are open, 011 086 7777. The question is a very specific one. You've been following the news, people, so tell us, what are your thoughts? Let's go to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Caller, you are live on air. Assalamu alaikum. Hey, people, you need to understand that put the volume of your TV down. You'll be able to hear yourself via the telephone. Once you leave the TV volume up, it creates an echo and it confuses the caller more than it confuses us. 011 086 7777. What are your thoughts on Julius Malema? Do you admire him? Because the word admire is a very strong word. To admire somebody, that person really needs to have substance. It needs to go beyond just the populist talk and the rhetoric and the fiery comments and the headline grabbing comments. Next caller, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Caller, assalamu alaikum. Okay, the caller has dropped. Let's continue to try. 011 086 7777. It's an important discussion because, I know in the Muslim community there might be those who would have issues with the ANC in terms of efficiency, in terms of corruption, in terms of service delivery. There may be those who, when it comes to the DA, I'm not saying it's justified or not, but they've got their ideological reservations. So what option then? Is the EFF the next option? In the old days, some would incline towards the IFP, COPE. Is the EFF an option for you? Let me know. Next caller, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam.
Yes, sister, brother, you need to speak up a bit. Your voice is very faint.
I do not admire Julius.
Okay, and why don't you admire him?
He's not a very good president, or I just don't like him. I like Jacob Zuma better.
You like Jacob Zuma?
Yes.
Okay, what is it that you like about Jacob Zuma?
He allows us to preach Islam nicely, without any problems.
Freedom of religion.
Yes.
And you think Moulana would not allow that?
Yes.
What makes you think that?
My father told me. My
Okay.
father told me that if he said that Jacob Zuma he likes the Muslims. Ahmed Katrada, all of them were with him when he was with Nelson Mandela when he was in prison, and they fought for freedom. But Julius, he will take all the Indians back to India.
Okay, so Jazakumullah, young man, for mustering up the courage and calling in, okay? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That was one of our young viewers. What do the adults have to say? 011 086 7777. What is it that you feel about Moulana? Do you think that it's dangerous what he's doing? I mean, many people would find it entertaining, others won't. They would say, look, this is not something to laugh about. When a person talks like this, he's taking the country in the very wrong direction. He's taking the whole discourse in the very wrong direction. Next caller, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Caller, Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Moulana.
Yes, what are your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, it's totally unfair because this is a democratic country. We can't allow anyone to be doing things like comments like Madam. Yeah, it's not healthy for democracy.
Yeah, it's a good point you raise because I know the editor of the New Age and AN7, Mohsen Williams, said Moulana said that he only fears the Constitution, but he's violating the Constitution by threatening journalists in this way. And it's a valid point you make. It's a democratic country, and that kind of expression is not on.
Yeah.
Okay, brother. Jazakumullah for the call. Much appreciated. I know Moulana has subsequently come and said, well, I didn't say those journalists can't come. They can come in their individual capacities. But I mean, why would somebody want to come in their individual capacities when they work for a media house, right? And he made those statements. And I spoke to a political analyst this morning, Dr. Sibadoda Fakeni, and he was saying sometimes the EFF, they do the right thing politically. They raise the right issues. But then when they go beyond what is acceptable in raising those issues and they end up shooting themselves in the foot. Next caller, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Caller, Assalamu alaikum. People, please, basic phone etiquette. Otherwise, you frustrate the technicians. You remember the system only allows one call at the time. So everybody else is waiting whilst your call comes. And then if you come on and you cut the call, or you come on and you don't put the volume of your TV down, then you're just hogging the line whilst there are other people who may really want to contribute. And this happens all the time because after the show, people will call and say, I was waiting on the line, I was wanting to say something, I really had something to contribute to the discussion, but the people before me, compromised that. So we have a few minutes left, 011 086 7777. Let's go to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Where are you calling from, brother?
Okay, we're calling from KZN.
MashaAllah. And what are your thoughts?
My thought was actually the program going on Junior Sulaimaan.
Come again, brother. I didn't get you. What did you say?
So the thing that I'm saying, Julius Malema never talk about something. Actually, have a confidence of it.
He never talk about what? You see, brother, you've got to put down the volume of your TV. Otherwise, you're going to get confused because you're listening to me on the phone and then my voice is echoing in the background on the television. Please, when you call in, it's a simple, straightforward request. Put the volume of the TV totally down. So that when you call, there isn't that background echo. Otherwise, it confuses you. Then, as a contributor to the program, you're hearing the voice 2 times, and it creates confusion. We don't have much time left. 011 086 7777. Your thoughts on Julius Malema? Do you admire him? Do you think he's dangerous? Do you think he'd make a good president? Do you think that he needs to feel some pressure from opposition parties, from the media, for the kind of controversial remarks that he makes? Let's go to the next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam. I just want to make a contribution.
Quickly, ji brother, no problem.
But the Zuma topic.
Go ahead.
Hello, I can't hear you. Can speak a bit louder?
Yes, you can go ahead. I can hear you loud and clear.
Ji?
Go ahead. What is your comment?
Yeah, you see, if you look at our past history, on the nationalist government ruling the country. You know, the white businessmen pulled out millions and millions of rands out of this country. Now, what I'm trying to say, I'm not justifying what Zuma has did is right. But let's look at some merit on it. Zuma, may have stole the money he planted in the South African soil, where we can see the money went of 246 million rand. In the past, a lot of these monies have been went out of the country under the white man's hand. Nobody speaks about it. That is number one. Number two, I'm not saying Zuma is innocent. With the Guptas, he must be involved in millions that must be lying down in India banks. So what I'm mainly trying to tell you, there is a mixture of some of the money that is spent into South African soil, which is our money. Just imagine 246 million rand, what percentage of that money went into labor? People got work. It's something to think about. And overall, I'm not saying he did the right thing. I think we should have a balanced type of this thing to say, all right, he got caught with his money, it's in the South African ground.
Okay, brother.
And from there,
Jazakumullah for that comment. I know there would be many that wouldn't agree with that, myself included, because, you know, corruption is corruption. I'm not saying Zuma is guilty, but if he is. But the brother is making a point that many people, that resonates with many people. There are people who feel that why isn't there that degree of focus on the theft that took place during the apartheid government, on corruption within the corporate space, whereas here, when there's a black man who's deemed to be corrupt, and there's all the focus. He's the president, obviously, that makes a big difference. And the brother is saying, well, the money at least stayed in the country, even though it's spent in Ikandla. What about all the money that went out of the country? But look, what is wrong, whether it stays in the country, goes out of the country, whether it's a white man or a black man. But there are those who talk about consistency. I mean, there are those who are calling out Malema and saying, well, you want to drive the Guptas out, and you don't want ANN7 and New Age, because you say that they are tools for Gupta agenda. Then what about media houses that are controlled by white capital? By white capitalists. What about those media houses? Are you going to boycott them as well? Yeah, so we have a caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Where are you calling from, brother?
From Durham.
Yes, go ahead. What's your comment?
Now, my point is, maybe, what can I say? I got like 2 points to make, right?
Okay.
Julius Malema is right if he can be a head of the position, but not to be a president. Zuma is right to be a president. I am saying this because Julius Malema sometimes, the points that he speaks, other things that he says, is the right thing to be in a position way. Is the right to be in a position of the leadership on the opposition, not on the ruling side.
Okay, so you say he makes a good opposition leader, but he won't make a good president.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, there are a lot of people
Because
like that in life, you know. They are good at
because-
raising issues when they're sitting in the opposition camp, but when they actually take the seat of power, they don't have the ability to deliver. Is that what you're saying, that you suspect with Malema?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Julius Malema is right to be in a opposition,
All right.
but not to be in a ruling side.
Interesting. Jazakumullah for your time and for your thoughts, brother. Much appreciated.
No problem.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Unfortunately, we only have a minute left, so that would be our last caller for this evening. I would have hoped that and really appreciated if we had the ability to interact a bit more and engage a bit more, but nonetheless, whatever we could manage to fit in today, we did. We'll talk more about these things because it's election year once again, right? It just reminds me of 2014. Remember the election debates that took place on this very program? We'll be having some of that in the time to come. But anyway, from myself, Sulaimaan Ravat, and here all the colleagues that are here with me this evening, until we meet again, inshallah, next week. By then, hopefully, who knows what would have happened in the Constitutional Court and the State of the Nation address. And if we are still alive and Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has decreed, we will meet again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
فاستنهضي همما فالمسجد الأقصى ما زال يدعونا ندي على الفتية الأحرار في زمن أضحى به الحق بالخذلان مدفونا فبالجهاد بنى الإسلام قوته وهل لغير القوي الناس يصغونا رباه هيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا فأنت من بالتقى والدين يهدينا أدعوك يا أمتي فاستنهضي همما فالمسجد الأقصى ما زال يدعونا ندي على الفتية الأحرار